Hey mamas, I'm Brooke Miller, registered dietitian, certified lactation counselor, and a mama who has helped hundreds of moms feel like themselves again after baby, boost their energy, mood, metabolism, and even milk supply. Inside of the Postpartum Shift podcast, you'll learn how to take care of your health so that you can show up best for the ones you care about most. Each week, we'll tackle topics like nutrition, exercise, breastfeeding, mental health, and so much more. Plus, you'll get access to guest experts who will share ways to make your pregnancy and postpartum experience easier. Whether you're approaching the postpartum period or you're right in the thick of it, you're in the right place. Let's dive into today's topic. Hey, welcome back to the podcast. And today we have a special guest, Serena. We're going to be talking all about exercising and running and fueling your body. Whether you're pregnant or postpartum, this is going to be helpful for you. And this is going to be helpful whether you are currently already really active or if you want to become more active throughout your pregnancy or postpartum. So Serena, can you just share a little bit about you, who you are, why you do what you do, how you got here, and a little bit about your story? And okay, first, before I let you go, we are freaking due on the same day. Like, what?
It's so crazy. Like, Brooke and I, we hang out in this like monthly kind of mastermind team meeting thing. And I was kind of like, oh my God, guys, I'm pregnant. And she was like, so, and then we found out we had the same due date. It's the craziest thing ever.
It is so crazy. Like, right when you were like, I'm pregnant, I'm like, wait, I have something to say too. Me too. Wait, when are you due?
Special.
It was really cool. I've never been due on the same day as like anybody I know, or even I guess I've had due dates like close, like within a few weeks, but never the same day. It's so wild.
So I have another friend who has the same due date as us. Isn't that really crazy? Yeah. Like there was a lot of action happening on that particular day.
Wow.
November.
That was a magical day, apparently.
Yeah. But hi. Thanks for having me, Brooke. I'm Serena. I'm a dietitian. I specialize in helping female runners fuel their active bodies, run free from crazy diets, and really optimize their hormones and metabolism. I have been running since I was 13 years old. I really found running in a very disordered way. I was running to lose weight. I was running to burn calories and restrict, and that kind of spiraled into a lot of really unhealthy behaviors. And then sometime in my 20s, after years of injuries and lost periods and just lots of really negative, bad mental health battles, I finally found, kind of what we coin as like food freedom, but it's essentially just learning how to embrace and accept my body and really learn how to use the principles of running nutrition or sports nutrition to guide my day-to-day life. And that's what I teach women how to do now, is really how to leave the cycle of yo-yo dieting and restricting behind so that they can ditch the running injuries, ditch all the bonking on long runs, and really start to feel empowered and strong and powerful in their training.
Yeah, that's so incredible. And even though I'm not a runner, I hate running. I wish I loved it. But, you and I still bond over just like sports nutrition in general, because we both love to strength train and, be active in so many different ways. And so whether you're a runner and you're running marathons, like I know some of you are, or maybe you're just wanting to start lifting weights or doing some yoga, like this is going to be so helpful for anybody who's trying to be active. And can you just talk about your experience so far with how things have changed for you during pregnancy, like how you've been feeling with running and how kind of your training or nutrition has kind of shifted and changed during this season of life, and kind of what you expect for your postpartum experience as well?
Yeah. So I am 29 weeks. Well, we are 29 weeks pregnant today. And so I have really successfully kind of trained through first trimester, second trimester, and now we're starting the journey of training in this third trimester. And I do want to just kind of acknowledge, when I got pregnant, I had recently run a marathon. I had run a marathon literally, 2 weeks before the time of conception. So I was very fit when I got pregnant. And I think that really plays an important role here in not comparing my story to your story, because I have felt really good in terms of being able to keep up mileage and training throughout pregnancy. And I do think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I was coming off a training season of like very high mileage and very, very fit when I got pregnant. First trimester, definitely had its food aversions, nausea. And so really kind of had to kind of come to terms with the fact that I had to go from a place of where I was doing fairly high mileage to reducing mileage, adding more walks into my running in order to stay consistent, but was able to still kind of consistently run through first trimester and train for a half marathon that I ran in second trimester. And definitely kind of had to take more rest days. I'm definitely still taking more rest days, slowed down my pace, kind of changed the way I was training. I was doing kind of like 2 speed workouts a week and a long run, and I had to cut one of those speed workouts. And now I've kind of cut out both of those speed workouts. But really what I've just kind of committed to during this journey is doing the best I can. So if my body is screaming at me that she is exhausted, she needs a day off, I give myself a day off, or I cut the workout to just a walk. And then also I had kind of started lifting again right before I found out I was pregnant. So I've kind of kept up with that as well. And in the beginning of pregnancy, I was running and lifting on the same day. And now at this point, sometime in second trimester, I kind of was like, on lifting days, we just lift, we don't run and lift. So essentially just reducing intensity across the board, but really just trying to focus on consistency at this phase. And that kind of started in the second trimester. I was like, okay, we need to really like dial down the intensity here.
Yeah, for sure. I know it's hard to kind of surrender when you're pregnant because to some extent, some of how you're feeling is out of your control, especially when you're like super nauseous or not feeling well or your joints hurt. There needs to be a lot of times modifications that we make, and that can be really hard, I think, for people who are competitive like you and I
Yeah.
to like actually modify things.
Yeah.
But it's so great to see you doing that and still be active and also tune into your body with, what do I need in this moment? Do I need a rest day? How can I adjust throughout this season? I think that's something that so many pregnant and postpartum moms struggle with is like they get so hard on themselves in the current season of life that they're in. And we really have to have this realization of, first trimester versus third trimester is going to look different. The fourth trimester, like right when you give birth, is going to look different than a year postpartum. And as long as we're constantly adapting and adjusting and being open to that and tuning into what our body needs, we're going to be able to get to a place where we're nourishing our body well and moving our body in a way that feels good without doing too much or too little,
Yeah, totally. I want to kind of acknowledge this is my first pregnancy. I feel like Brooke is like a pro here. But I, really knew going into pregnancy, obviously you have to talk to your healthcare provider, make sure like training or running or lifting or whatever it is safe for you and your unique situation. But, my midwife kind of gave me the go ahead that it was safe for me to run and lift because it was something I was doing beforehand. And, it really was like kind of, I have found kind of like up to me to figure out how to modify it in a way that feels safe and good for my body and my baby. I did go to a pelvic floor physical therapist pretty early on, like around 15, 16 weeks. And that was something I paid out of pocket for. So definitely want to acknowledge like having enough resources and the privilege to be able to afford to do that is something to keep in mind here. But that gave me a lot of peace of mind because she just kind of like went through squatting with me, went through, all these different activities with me. And she was like, okay, you're doing that safely. You're breathing in a way that you're protecting baby. There's no risk to your body or baby. And that gave me a lot of peace of mind to like continue to lift and run during pregnancy as well.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh. I'm definitely going to start with a pelvic floor PT after this baby is out. That is like one thing I'm like, I will absolutely commit to this after this postpartum experience, especially knowing that we're done with kids after this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely worth your while then.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. And I wanted to dive into just the importance of nutrition for sports, for athletes, for runners, for anybody who's really active, because I think, most of us grew up hearing just eat less and move more and eat less and move more and starve yourself and move more. And you and I both know, especially being competitive athletes, you can't just continue to eat less and lift heavier. You can't just eat less and run further and have more endurance. And so can you just touch a little bit on the importance of nutrition and leveraging that so that we can have more strength, more endurance, build more muscle, which helps our metabolism function faster, get leaner, and talk about what you especially see for women coming into your programs, too.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really interesting because I've had a few clients either get pregnant around the same time as me or since I've gotten pregnant. And so it's been really fun to kind of share my lived experience and then also all the stuff that I just know from being a dietitian. So I think the first thing is what Brooke was just saying, where you cannot be pregnant and training and continue to undereat. Now, not only is it really harmful to your metabolism and your hormones, your body is going to be screaming at you, and it's not going to let you continue to train in the way you want to train if you're not eating enough. So, I really feel like a lot of the reason I was able to train for half marathon in my second trimester was because I was really so intentional about fueling and hydration. So I think one, hydration, I think it's one of those things where we roll our eyes. We're like, I know. It's really important. Your blood volume's increasing in pregnancy. If you're running, you're sweating out, you're losing a lot of electrolytes. And so even though you might be feeling nauseous or not so good, it's definitely not something that I say and say, oh, it's easy. You got to be intentional. You have to know this is important. Despite how much you might have to pee, we need to be carrying around that water bottle. We need to be adding electrolytes to our day. Yeah. And really, I was saying drinking more than 120 ounces a day of fluid if you're going to be sweating and working out and training during pregnancy, I think is a really key consideration here. And then also just eating enough and eating frequently. I think especially in that first trimester when, that blood sugar, when it's tenuous or labile, can really lead to feeling nauseous or feeling sick. We really want to try and, load protein into our meals to just keep that blood sugar balanced. And then if you're a runner, like I am, it's really important to be intentional with timing your carbohydrates. So, usually I'm very big on timing carbohydrates around long runs. When you're pregnant, every run is a long run.
Exactly.
So it's even if it's only 20 minutes or only 30 minutes, I was bringing, my chewy candy before my run. I was bringing a gel during my run. And if I started to feel nauseous or sick, I would just take some sugar in to just make sure my body had that sugar to use and utilize. And that really was what kind of got me through first trimester.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does, it varies so much with just how our bodies change during pregnancy and postpartum. And when you are so in tune with your body, you're able to kind of identify those things, and that is something where I think a lot of moms are so out of tune with their bodies during pregnancy and postpartum, and they don't even know what their body needs. And so just even walking away from this episode and starting to tune in more, how do I feel when I start to get dehydrated? What does that look like for me when, and then experimenting with different things. Oh, when I start to feel lightheaded during a run and I ate this before, this made me feel better versus, not eating, or, I think we have to be our own detective because each of us are so individualized as well. And so there's, of course, nutrition advice that we would give to all athletes, eat this type of food, X amount of time before your workout and, fuel with protein and this kind of thing after your workout. But to an extent, you may do well with protein shakes. I may do better with, Greek yogurt. We have to really test things out and see what works for our schedules.
And I think that's where having the nutrition knowledge rather than just I always joke, you can have a list of this is protein, this is carbs, but really understanding I know first trimester I had food aversions to every food under the sun. Yeah. And so for me to get protein in, I had depending on the day, 1 to 2 options that I could work with.
Exactly.
And so just understanding it's not superior to choose the protein shake over the Greek yogurt over the chicken. It's just literally whatever you can tolerate as a pregnant athlete who needs protein and being okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important. If you've been wanting to reach your healthiest weight and feel like yourself again postpartum without having to sacrifice your favorite foods or your milk supply, I've got a free workshop just for you. Inside of this free workshop, you'll discover how to boost energy, mood, metabolism, and even protect your milk supply. You'll learn common mistakes that moms make that actually cause exhaustion, mood swings, low milk supply, and weight loss resistance to become worse, things that moms don't even realize. And you'll learn the proven 3-step method to heal your hormones and metabolism after baby so you can go from surviving to thriving postpartum. Plus, as a free gift, you'll get my postpartum snack guide when you come hang out with us. All you have to do is click the link in the show notes to save your seat today. Spots are limited. See you there. What are some other common like myths and mistakes that you see a lot of women coming into who are endurance athletes and they're pretty in shape and they're very active, but like what are some common mistakes and myths that they kind of bring in when you start working with them that they have to really shift in order to become a stronger runner, a faster runner, and start, beating their PRs?
Yeah, I think, something I've heard a few times is like, oh, my calorie, you read like, oh, your calorie needs aren't increased until the second trimester. And that almost gives some women permission to like not fuel adequately during first trimester, thinking like kind of like, oh, I don't feel good and my calorie needs aren't increased, blah, blah, blah. Again, just really want to reinforce here. A lot of women are under eating, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally. And so pregnancy is not the time to be, like trying to sneak and get away with like eating less. It's really important to kind of fuel more often. Again, I'm kind of speaking to the runners here, but if you are continuing to run 20, 30, 40 miles a week during pregnancy, like we need to kind of shift how often we're eating to every 2 to 3 hours. Like, I was kind of saying to myself, even though I'm running lower mileage, I'm going to fuel as if I'm marathon training right now and be really intentional with timing my meals, increasing my protein intake, because even though my mileage is lower, quote unquote, my body is building a whole extra human. Like there's a whole extra activity that is happening here, even though I'm just laying in bed, like not doing anything. So I think that's really important to realize, like, even though maybe you're not quote unquote burning more calories first trimester, you still need to be very intentional about eating enough. And then like, I would just say another mistake that and again, I'm kind of speaking to runners right now. But I think sometimes we get really afraid of drinking our calories. And I think there's definitely a time and a place when like drinking calories is maybe not the healthiest choice. But if you are a long distance runner and you're training in pregnancy, having some sugar in your sports beverage can be really helpful for facilitating the absorption of electrolytes. It actually helps our body absorb that sodium, that potassium quicker and faster and better so that you don't get dehydrated during your run. So whether you're drinking that before your run or during your run, that sports drink with calories can actually be really helpful. And that goes for when you're not pregnant as well. But I think it's extra important when we're pregnant and kind of prone to underhydrating.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going to be very different for somebody who's, running a marathon or training like long runs versus, if you just hop on your Peloton for 10 to 15 minutes, like you probably don't need that,
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. I definitely want to like specify, I'm talking to those of you who are continuing to do like 40 or like 30 to 60 plus minute runs during pregnancy. We do need to be like a little bit more intentional with timing sugar intake and sports drink and calorie containing sports drink versus, if you're doing like a 20-minute Peloton ride, and that's totally different situation. Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some simple tips that work super well for a lot of your clients when it comes to just optimizing their nutrition for especially strength and endurance, like with their runs to get faster and stronger? What are a few things that have been really helpful?
Yeah. So I think again, just realizing like consistency over perfection. There's going to be days where you may be not feeling great. And it's like asking yourself, hey, if instead of completely skipping this workout, can I modify it? So can I do yoga instead of lifting? Can I go for a walk instead of running? And some days it's like, no, I can't. I just need to lay
Mm-hmm.
on the couch, and that's okay too. But really trying to be consistent over perfect, I think is really important. And I also think it's really hard, especially for the women I work with, to kind of like have that compassion and understanding for their body. But pregnancy will teach you if you do not, if you're not able to do it on your own. And then I also would say just being, really kind of figuring out ways to make eating enough easier. So
Mm-hmm.
not being afraid to stock up on, the quote unquote processed foods that make life easier. So I have a rotisserie chicken in the fridge right now because like we were traveling last weekend and I didn't prep chicken. I don't care, like it's not the cleanest, like whatever. It's
Mm-hmm.
chicken, it's protein, it's wonderful for me. So really trying to add like these convenient sources of protein, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt. I'm a big fan of frozen chicken nuggets, like, not being afraid to kind of figure out ways to take shortcuts to make
Mm-hmm.
eating enough easier and more convenient, because really at the end of the day as an athlete, we're just looking to make sure you have protein on your plate, you have some fat on your plate to really help nourish baby, but also to help you fight inflammation as an athlete. So those healthy fats like avocado, olive oil, super convenient, easy fats to add to your plate. And then really trying to aim to get, a palm-sized portion of protein, or usually like 20, 30 grams of protein at each meal. And whatever tools, whatever shortcuts we need to take to hit that, we can take. We don't have to feel guilty about that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I know. I'm a huge fan of just like not using protein powders like over the top for every single meal, but even just, a smoothie once a day with some protein powder. Or yesterday I grabbed just like a pre-made protein shake that was ready to go just because I knew I needed to eat something and that was a quick option. And so it's okay to lean on some of these things
Mm-hmm.
that are more convenient. And there's so many great options out there of things that sure they're processed and they're in the pantry, but they're actually, you read the ingredients and they're very minimal ingredients and they're actually, pretty great products. And so just because it's, in a package doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be really harmful for you during your pregnancy or postpartum experience either.
Yeah, and you can always add like extra nutrition with like frozen vegetables or frozen fruit or fresh fruits and vegetables, obviously. So yeah, really, I'm a big fan of like just making, like Brooke always jokes around, like, I don't like to cook. And like, I mean, I do like to cook, but life is so busy. And so I definitely have days where I'm just using those shortcuts, and like, who cares? You're getting color in, you're getting, protein and fat and carbohydrate in. And so I think that's just something that's the ultimate goal here. And then I just also wanted to just throw in, if you do continue to kind of run and train through second trimester, third trimester, definitely want to be just intentional about increasing carbohydrate intake. Again, it's almost like you're kind of, even though you might be even noticing your mileage is reducing, or maybe you're keeping your mileage the same, you are building a human being. So that does require extra energy on top of what you're burning when you're training. So really choosing those high fiber carbohydrates like, bean pasta or quinoa or farro, or fruits. I've been like really big on fruits this pregnancy. That's just such a good way to make sure that you're still getting enough energy to build a baby and recover your muscles, build your muscles, and train and fuel your workouts, while also kind of, being aware of the fact that your needs are higher as a pregnant athlete. So definitely just want to give a shout out to carbohydrates as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think carbs get such a bad rap, but it's
Mhm.
like so important for our energy levels. And I think people forget, or maybe people just aren't taught, but people forget that carbohydrates are fruits and vegetables. So
Yeah.
the amount of moms who like come to me and they're like, I'm on a no carb diet. And I'm like, we should probably be eating some fruits and vegetables. Like, we need to
Yeah.
eat some carbs. We don't want to avoid carbs, right? But we want to try to utilize especially the higher fiber carbs just because it's just going to help us with our digestion. It's going to help our blood sugar. And yeah, they're going to help us feel our best physically.
Totally. Yeah. And again, just giving a shout out to those of you who are kind of really running and training and doing a little bit more of that like half marathon or 10K training during pregnancy, timing those easy to digest simple carbohydrates during and before runs has been really helpful. So, even if I'm not feeling super hungry and I'm quote unquote only going running for 30 minutes, I'll just grab like 4 pieces of chewy, like gummy Trader Joe's candy. And I'll also bring some on the run with me just in case I kind of notice not feeling great. And so, just again, there's a time and a place for all these different foods. Like, none of them are bad. They all play an important role. And just depending on how vigorous your activity is, as we kind of have exercise that's maybe spiking our heart rate a little bit higher, that's kind of what calls for maybe those simpler, easier to digest carbohydrates. And so just want to make sure there's a time and a place for those high five carbohydrates or kind of for all those other meals. But I always say the pre-workout snack's the weirdo, where we really do want those like sugary, easier to digest carbohydrates.
Yeah, for sure. Whenever I go for like a long hike, especially like out here, I always grab like a piece of toast and a banana and like, something that's really just quick and easy, a quick and easy carb source, because it just gives you that quick energy that you need. And then of course, protein after, especially after like a long or hard or strenuous workout's really important to help, the muscles continue to repair. So absolutely. I'm curious, what is your kind of plan for your postpartum experience? Like what are your goals? What are you kind of hoping that your movement's going to look like once baby's here? And I know it can obviously change, but I'm just curious of what you're hoping to do.
Yeah. So, again, first time mom here. So I feel like I don't know anything. But I already spoke to my pelvic floor therapist. I was like, how soon can I start running? She was like, you need to chill out. So she kind of said, expect around 6 weeks to be able to like run, walk. And so I'm like looking forward to that already. So, kind of probably just definitely going to focus on like diaphragmatic breathing, pelvic floor exercises, that early postpartum period. Hopefully get into like walking as soon as I can. And then, like I said, 6 weeks, hopefully to start run walking again. There's a 10-mile race here in Philadelphia in April. So I'm kind of hoping by that race, I'll be able to kind of like have trained somewhat, maybe not like PR ready, but like feel strong and fit again. So that's like my goal, is just kind of take on a 10-mile race as like a goal race. I think I'll be like 6-7 months postpartum at that point. So yeah, I don't know. I'm really trying to like be gentle. I don't want to set the sights too high, because I can, like you said, like you're competitive. You can kind of like get a little too aggressive with your goals here. But definitely, I feel very proud, and knock on wood, I'm continuing to train during pregnancy, continuing to lift and to run. And so therefore hoping that facilitates healing faster after birth. And like I said, I'm working with the pelvic floor PT, which has just given me so much peace of mind and confidence that I'll be able to safely resume activity after baby.
Yeah. And I don't know that this is like my advice to all first-time moms, but walking postpartum does so much for your mental health. Like, I cannot tell you, it saved me mentally to go for walks every single day postpartum with my babe. And honestly, both of my kids love stroller rides. And so very fortunate. I mean, I would say it's pretty rare that a baby hates being in a stroller moving. So,
okay, that's good to know.
It's so nice, especially like we're delivering in the summer. So we have nice weather. And especially if we go in the morning before it gets too hot, like I cannot tell you, I would bring a water bottle. I would bring my iced coffee. We would go for a leisurely walk. It wasn't anything super intense, but it was like, all right, we're going to go explore a neighborhood today. And, it was, for me, it was so peaceful and relaxing. And I feel like I was very fortunate to have vaginal births the first time and a very easy physical recovery. And so by the time that the 6 weeks, rolled around, I was like, all right, I'm ready to go. Like, let's strength train. Let's get back on the bike and let's ride. And I think a big part of that was because I was doing so much walking. And then something else that really helped me postpartum the last few times was I would just do very gentle stretching. Like, especially, you know, with nursing and stuff, like your shoulders and your neck and your upper body can get really tight. And so just doing any type of like upper body stretching really is super, super beneficial when you're in the first 6 weeks postpartum. And especially nursing, like getting into a good, comfortable position, because there's so many moms who are like hunching over and they're like putting so much strain on their neck and shoulders and back. And so that is my advice for all the new mamas who are listening, is like, get outside, enjoy the fresh air, especially if you're delivering during, you know, the summer hours, and yeah, you don't have to go super hard or fast or anything, but just like that fresh air is going to give you life.
Yeah, no, that's like very inspiring, and I am going to be doing all of that. So thank you.
Do you have any other like last minute tips that you want to leave our listeners with?
Yeah, I guess I would just say, you know, again, obviously you have to speak to your healthcare provider to get like personalized care for your unique body. But and again, I'm a first time mom, but I was really just gung ho on like continuing to train and exercise during pregnancy. And I have had a lot of like naysayers, just, you know, they mean well, but they're kind of like, oh, I can't believe you're running, you're lifting, like, oh my God, isn't that bad? And, you know, really just kind of saying like, no, I trust my body. I know the level of activity that I was, you know, committed to before I got pregnant. And I've discussed this with my team. And like I said, I hired a PT just to really make sure that I'm doing everything safely. And I think it's been like just really important for my mental health during pregnancy. I think it has played a really huge role in why I don't have a lot of like the aches and pains and complaints that some of other people I know have had. And so I really think, even though you might get some like side eye from people for staying so active during pregnancy, it's your journey, it's your body, and you can trust your body to tell you if, you know, anything is off. So again, like review that with your healthcare provider, because I don't know you personally, but I, you know, 29 weeks today, and I have really like run and lifted all, you know, 29 weeks, and it's been awesome for me so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been the same way. I had like a nasty foodborne illness for like 2 weeks and was like out. And the only time this pregnancy and my last pregnancy, the only time I ever experienced pain was I was at a conference. I was literally like the exact same weeks pregnant this time and the last time, sitting for 2 days straight, like sitting that long caused so much pelvic pain and SPD pain and back pain. It was unreal. And so if you're listening to this and you're at a desk job and you're pregnant, like get up, go for walks, you know, stretch those hips. Like you may look funny in your cubicle doing it, but get on a ball. Like if you are, you know, at a desk job and you are pregnant, like get on a ball versus a chair. That way you can kind of like move around. But just walking in general is like one of the most underrated things that pregnant and postpartum moms can do. And so like pro walking always.
Yeah, I love that.
Can you share where people can connect with you and find you? You know, the podcast, the Instagrams, all the things.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I would love for you to follow me on Instagram. That's where I hang out. At Runner Girl Dietitian is my Instagram handle. Send me a message, say hi, let me know you listened to today's podcast. I also have my own podcast. It's all about running, nutrition, body acceptance. You know, I've been talking about pregnancy on there, you know, so definitely come and listen there. It's called Dear Runner Bod. And then also if you wanted to check out my free training on intra long run hydration, you can just send me the DM Cruel Summer on Instagram, and you'll get the link to listen to my masterclass where I teach you step by step how to create a long run hydration strategy. I'm a Swiftie, so that's why it's Cruel Summer.
I love it.
That's an important thing to know about me.
That's so fun. I feel like my many chat words are so boring. I'm like, you always come up with the best ones. Like DM me, feed me. And I'm like, what? Like, why do you come up with these cool
Feed
ones?
me made me laugh so hard. People would be like,
I know.
feed me.
Feed me. I know. I'm like, my words suck. And then people get mad because they'll like accidentally type in the word training. And then they're like, why did you send me a link? Like the amount of okay, this is just a rant now, but like the amount of mean DMs, like this one girl messaged me and she kept like DMing me the word webinar. And she's like, I freaking don't want a webinar, blah, blah, blah. And every time she typed in a webinar, like my autoresponder was like, hi, here's your free webinar. And she's like, I don't want this. I'm unfollowing you. You're ridiculous. And she like went off on me, but she kept saying like one of the trigger words. And I was dying and I was like, I'm sorry. That's my autoresponder. I was like, I'm so sorry. My autoresponder does not filter out entire phrases. So when you're telling me that you hate me and that I'm stupid and all these things, like it's not filtering all of those things out. So it's hilarious.
If she's gonna be mean to you, I'm like almost happy the autoresponder was antagonizing her.
I was laughing so hard and I was like, I'm so sorry for my auto. Also, she was an RD, I think. And I was like, first off,
interesting.
Let's be nice to fellow professionals. Yeah, she was not just like a typical mom. She was like a healthcare professional. And I was like, you need to be nicer to people.
Yeah, dude. Everyone should be nice, but
everyone should be nice.
Yeah.
But like also.
Yeah, also.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. Go follow Serena, especially if you are, really motivated to become active during your pregnancy and postpartum. Follow along on her postpartum and pregnancy journey as well. And I'll see you later.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Bye. Exercise is crucial for our overall mental and physical health, especially during pregnancy and postpartum. Something that has helped me stay really consistent with strength training and yoga at home during nap time is the Expecting and Empowered workout app. I love that I can choose how many weeks pregnant or postpartum I am, and the app tells me exactly what to do. Plus, there's cardio, yoga, and strength training options for new moms and moms-to-be. You can go ahead and click the link in the show notes to get 7 days free and also save 15% off the annual option when you use promo code Nutrition4Mamas. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and listening to the Postpartum Shift podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to me if you could share this episode with a mom friend and leave a written review. This helps the podcast reach and help even more moms. Come say hi over on Instagram at Nutrition4Mamas.